Hello and welcome back to the channel. My name is Eddie Jennings from EJSLLC.com. This video is going to be another in my RHCE practice session series where I am preparing for the Red Hat Certified Engineer exam. Before I dive in, I want to thank returning subscribers for watching another video, as well as invite everyone, if you're watching and haven't subscribed yet, to click that subscribe button and ring the bell when you do. Also, if you enjoy the content of this video, make sure you click like and feel free to share it with others. So in this video, we're going to start the Use Ansible modules for system administration tasks that work with, and then a variety of other little things, section of the RHCE modules. We'll be looking at software packages and repositories. I do want to remind everyone that this is not intended to be authoritative information, nor is it intended to be a tutorial, but rather it's an opportunity for me to go through modules and do some practice and to see if I feel pretty confident about either being able to solve problems just from my memory or being able to look up documentation as needed in for a reasonable amount of help with doing said tasks. And then at the end of the video, if I feel pretty confident about what I did, then I'm probably going to do well on the exam for those tasks. And then if not, I know what I need to spend some time on between now and 2 weeks from now when I take my exam. All that being said, I do try to have the information as accurate as possible, and feel free to leave comments if I do miss something, because I'm sure others would like to see the accurate information. Before I get started, I do have to mention that this is actually kind of a second take for this practice session. I struggled through this a few minutes ago and realized I didn't actually start recording on OBS. So this isn't like truly just cold practice session, but it's about as close as we're going to get. So what I'm going to do to work with this objective is I've attached an ISO to one of my managed nodes, the rel ISO, and what I want to do is practice trying to disable repositories, then practice mounting an ISO file using the using appropriate modules, and then practice creating a repository that uses that ISO file. So one thing that I did discover in that first take that unfortunately didn't get recorded was that the actual yum module does not disable stuff persistently. And the yum repository module, apparently and I guess this kind of makes sense, I'm not able to just disable or enable. But let me do one more look at the doc for yum repository, because maybe there's a way do that. You can do present or absent as far as actually like literally getting rid of the file, but I didn't see anything that would allow me to just enable or disable, because basically if you have name of your repository and then enable, it's going to complain that there's no base URL and all this kind of stuff. And just to double check the actual yum documentation, I'm pretty sure for its disable repo, it says that it's, of course I would, oh wait, I just hit end. It says that it's only good for that particular transaction. Yeah, the repos, these repos will not persist beyond the transaction. So it makes me think the only way to persistently disable a repository would either to be use a command or shell module and literally do DNF config manager, or is it manage config or config manager? I think it's manage config. Drawing a blank on that. I'm tired on a Friday. But doing that as a shell command, maybe we can use the Red Hat subscription module. Let's check that real quick and think about that. Doc Red Hat subscription. See if that will allow us to disable repos. Let's see. I think this is going to be much more about, just actually attaching your subscription and such. Yeah, okay, so we're going to have to use the individual commands for that. So what I'm going to do real quick is do lab rel an01, and we're going to do DNF repo list, just to get the actual identifiers for these repositories, because we don't want to, or what I'm wanting to do with my task here is not actually delete them, but what? DNF repo list return. I know what's going on. Yep. So let me do another ad hoc command real quick. I'm just going to do this to everything. This is a gotcha with actual rel, and eventually I will get around to figuring out exactly what's going on, but I have to do the little refresh subscription manager when I revert to snapshot, because it has some certificate stuff that it has to deal with. Okay, so now let's try our DNF repo list. What am I doing wrong? It's going to be one of those days. Reop list is not going to work very well. I'm sure if you're watching the video, you've watched me do this now 3 times with DNF reop list and are wondering when I'm going to figure it out, right? So let me copy this here and let's do software test as our playbook. We'll go ahead and get this going here. Work with package repos. Host, we're just going to be working on AN01. I'm actually going to create some vars to disable. We're going to make a list here because I'm going to need to loop through that when I'm disabling the repositories. Become, yes, definitely going to have to do that with these tasks and then the tasks. So the first thing I'm going to do is disable requested repos. So we'll just use the command module and we'll do DNF config manager. I'm pretty sure it's config manager. Let's try something real quick. Yep, it is config manager. Like I find myself not disabling repos that often, so there's not something that's well under my fingers. So disable, and we're going to do item because we'll be looping through this. Loop and repos to disable. All right, so we're going to go ahead and run this. Let me do a syntax check real quick first. I didn't complain. All right, software test. Let's see what happens. We should get changed with this. And one of the things about using the command module or the shell module, and this is kind of annoying with it, is even if we run this again, it's still going to show us changed because, you know, it did what it needed to do. And so from Ansible's perspective, something did change. There was something returned. And so you would often use something like changed when. And so maybe I would have like changed when release code. Well, basically you want to have that be okay. So if it's release code 0, then, well, what I'm getting at, I'm a little ahead of myself. If I were to run this again and again and again, and I keep saying release code, the return code is always going to be 0. So I'd have to try to think of a way to maybe changed when false. Anyway, not something I'm going to deal with in this particular video. So let's verify DNF repo list. That repo, those repos should not be listed there anymore. Yep, that's what we wanted to see. All right, so the next thing is going to be mounting this ISO. Now, I already know what the stuff is, but if I was on the exam and didn't know, if I wanted to figure out how this ISO was already mounted, I can do, again, another ad hoc command for this, but block ID. Now look for something that has the type ISO 9660, and so that's dev and SR0. So let's go back into our playbook here. And we're going to add a task, name, mount the ISO. So we'll use the mount module for this. The source is going to be our device, so that's SR0. The path, which mount will actually create for you, is mnt ISO, or at least that's where I want to put it. The file system type is going to be the ISO 9660. Then we're going to have options, and we want read-only and loop. Loop, I think, is the big key for being an ISO file. Or I might not have to do loop for that, but it works. And then state is going to be mounted because we want everything to be persistent, and that mounted is going to be going to write it to etcfs tab. State present will mount it, I believe, but not write to etcfs tab. All right, so let's run our playbook again. Could probably practice doing some tags and then say just run that particular task that has a tag on it, but too late, already running the playbook. And as you can see, the disable requested repos comes back again. All right, so what I'm going to do here do another ad hoc command. Ansible labrel an01. And we're going to cat etc fs tab. Of course, I could just do this over SSH, but I figure why not use Ansible. And there it is in our etc fs tab. So we're good to go for that. And I guess we can do df-h. Probably don't have to become for this to show that it is mounted. And we see there mnt iso. So now we're going to create our repositories. We're actually going to create both the base OS and the app stream repositories. So we'll do name and create repos. We're going to use the yum repository module. All right, and the name. I want to do, well, it's probably better to do this as a loop. No, because I'm going to have to do. I guess I could do multi-valued things. Well, yeah, it might be worth practicing that. Let's see if I can remember how to do multi-valued things for a loop. So name is going to be item repo name. Now this is really putting me to the test here because I haven't done this in a bit. So we'll see what I can remember. Base URL is going to be, or actually let's do description. And you'll notice the options for Yum repository are very much like just actually making a Yum repo file. So item description, and then base URL is going to be item base URL. GPG check is going to be no. State is going to be present. So let's see if I can remember how to do this. So loop. I'm going to have a list. And I believe what I need is something like this. So I'm going to have repo name, base OS, and description. Or I think these have to be in single quotes, if I remember right. I'm trying to remember. I'm pretty sure there's no built-in documentation for this, so this is sheerly off my memory. It's going to be base OS repo. Then we want base URL. It's going to be file mnt iso base OS. That should be everything we need. And what I'm actually going to do is yank this and paste. We're going to change just a couple of things. App stream, and app stream. I'm pretty sure that's what we want for that. Okay, so what I'm going to do is this, just as a test. I'm actually going to copy this here, and we're going to make a little test playlist real quick. I just want to make, before I run this and it cause problems, vi test debug.yml. So we'll just run this. All right, so testing debug host. Just do it against localhost tasks. Debug var item loop, and now here's where we'll paste. All right, so let's run test debug. All right, so I think this is going to do what I want. So let's go back into our test debug. It's curious, I got a bit off track with this, but sometimes when you're reviewing stuff, things come to mind. So we're just going to get repo name out of that. Oh, I see what I did wrong. Did not close my bracket. All right, VI is messing with me. It's taking me out of insert mode when I don't intend to go out of insert mode. Okay, let's try this again. Undefined variable. So yeah, that's something I'm going to have to practice. I'm not going to take any more time in this particular session to do that. So let's go back to our software, and we're going to get rid, actually we'll just get rid of this all. And we'll just do the module twice. And I guess that's something for your exam to think about, is they're not necessarily looking for the most elegant solution. They're looking for something that will work. So I'm just going to do this twice. Base OS, The base URL is going to be file mnt iso base os description base os repo. GPG check is going to be no. State is going to be present. See name base URL description. I think that's what I need for that. All right, and we're going to yank this. So that's what, 6 lines. So 6 YY. Paste that there. Add another line. Name create repos part 2. All right, that looks good indentation wise. Oh, I forgot enabled. We'll name this app stream. Enabled, yes. We'll go back and do that to this one too. Enabled, yes. All right, so let's run our playbook. I'm not going to do the syntax check this time. I'm going to live on the wild side. And of course, there's something there. Tell I'm getting a little annoyed at my syntax errors, but that's what happens when you try to go too fast. Just going so fast I didn't even read the error message. So it's complaining about create repos. What did I do wrong? State mounted, mount, all that looks good. Am I on the right indentation? It looks like that I am. Name create repos. Yum subscription, that's right. Then all of this appears to be correct. I wonder where the problem is. I wonder if that might be a problem. I don't think so though. I'm a bit confused about that. All right, so name hosts, that's there. Vars, repos to disable. Yeah, all that's right. Become, yes. Tasks. That indentation is right for that name. Command, we know that works. We know the ISO one works, but it's complaining about this. Yum underscore subscriptions, the name of that. I'm not sure where the problem is. All right, so let's see if that was, I'm fairly certain that's not the problem. And we're going to get the same error. No action detected in task, misspelled module name. Yum subscription. Oh well. If you're watching these to kind of see what real life problems you might have when you're preparing for the exam, you have come to the right place with this video. Might have to edit the audio some for that sigh. I was probably pretty loud on the microphone. But always better to do this now. I guess this kind of gives weight to the idea of don't take your exam when you're tired. All right, so let's try it now with the correct module name. This also is an example of where it tells you the offending line appears to be, and that's not where it was. Okay, so the create repos. So now let's do Ansible lab rel an01 dnf repo list. And let's see what comes up. All right, that looks good. So let's go back into our software tests. We're going to add another task, and we're just going to install good old Apache. We'll use the yum module for this. Name httpd state present. And let's see if it installs successfully. Didn't get an error, but let's verify. So Ansible lab rel an01. Actually, I'm going to use the shell module because I want to use the pipe. And we're going to do dnf list installed. We're going to grep for httpd. And we see that it is installed, and it tells us the repo that it came from, which that's what we expect to see. And I think that's good. So from the review perspective for this, I think I know what I'm doing with the yum underscore repository repo. I know what I'm doing with the actual yum repo. I know what I'm doing with mount. Points that I'm going to want to review maybe are doing loops that have variables with multiple values in them. I think I may have been able to do the bracket for it being an array, but regardless, that's something that I think I need to go over between now and 2 weeks from now. But as far as the actual tasks at hand, I think I have a pretty decent handle on these. So thank you for taking the time to watch me stumble through it, and maybe some of the mistakes and such that I made you might be doing with some of your own practice, and you see how I deal with them, and it might give you some ideas of how to deal with them yourself as well. I do want to thank returning subscribers again for watching another video, and as always, invite everyone, if you haven't subscribed yet, to click that subscribe button and ring the bell. Feel free to leave a comment if you so desire, and I'll respond as I have both time and ability to do so. If you did enjoy this, make sure you click like, or even if you didn't enjoy it but got some use out of it, go ahead and click like anyway for that. Thanks again for taking the time to watch, and I'll see you the next time.